Literally needed it right now. It's what we were talking about before we got the call started. So this principle, as we dive into it, is for capital raising, for people who are looking to increase the amount of capital inside their lives, people who don't have enough money. So I know most of you on the call are very wealthy, very successful, high income earners, and yet there's always room for more capital. Show of hands if you could always use a little more money in your life. No matter how much you have, there's always room for just a little more. And in some cases, room for significant amounts more. Excellent. So for those of you who are new, welcome. And for those of you who are not new, who are been here for the last 4 or 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. Give yourselves a big round of applause. And welcome back, alchemists, to the 52 Weeks to Wealth. My name is Walter Morello. We've been on this journey for the last 51 weeks. And I've been diving through and jumping through hurdles to develop and build our businesses to increase our income and get more of that passive income. We've also ran into a lot of stress. Stress is inevitable as we go out and we take on more responsibilities. The name of the game, in fact, is to solve other people's problems, to take on more stress that is outside of our own stress. And that's what we get paid for. Entrepreneurs get paid for doing things other people don't want to do. Show of hands if that's true. We do things other people are either incapable of doing or don't want to do anymore. And so today's wealth principle is principle 51. It's long, so you may want to write this down. Learn to love solving problems for other people and getting rich doing it. Wealth principle 51 flies in the face of the average person's lifestyle. The average person doesn't like solving their own problems, let alone other people's problems. They find solving other people's problems is like, not my problem. Show of hands if you know somebody like that who said, it's not my problem. That's right. Definitely not an entrepreneur. They don't have the entrepreneur's heart. An entrepreneur's heart is looking to solve problems for other people. And then they start doing it at scale, which of course brings in stress because problems are stressful. Show of hands if you've noticed some problems that are very stressful. Yes, yes. So as we're developing this principle, I'm talking to a handful of people on this call when I say this. As you take on more problems, as you take on more stress in your life, be willing to take on other people who will help you with that stress. And so it gets easier to solve more problems because the world has no shortage of people who want to solve problems. In fact, people go to school every single day. People go to colleges every single day to learn how to solve problems. Show of hands if that's true. We know college is just here's how you solve a problem. Here's how you solve. They go through all this practice to get to the point where they get to work for somebody like you, where they get to solve problems for a living. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for what is it called? A job, a job, where they end up just over broke because they're not the entrepreneur. They're excited to stay and keep coming back because they want to do the problem solving. They don't want to do the selling. They want to do the problem solving. Show of hands if that's true for most people. They don't like selling, but they like working. They like the job. Absolutely. All right, so as we dive into today's wealth principle, I want to remind everybody that mostly you, I want to remind you who forgot, book your hotel, book your freaking hotel for the summit because Darina is on my ass right now. She has, I think, 90 something people who have booked their hotels, and there's like 58 who still need to book, who are registered and who have not booked their hotel yet. So please book your hotel because the hotel room block, Darina did extend it. It was supposed to end at the 7th. She extended it to the 14th, which really cuts it close for her and for the hotel. So if you haven't already booked your hotels, please do that. Please use the link that Dorita provides because it gives you a sale, a discount. Please don't complain about the price if you did not use the link that Dorina provides when you purchase the tickets for the summit. Show of hands, we all understand. Buy your hotel, get it done today. It doesn't get cheaper as it goes. As we get closer, it gets more expensive as we get close. So thank you in advance for booking your hotels. That being said, Wealth Principle 51 was not easy for me to come by. This was a principle that I struggled with. I understood the idea of adding value to other people. I understood the idea of helping others. Early into my career as an entrepreneur, as an agent, I realized I did have to help other people. But I didn't feel very helpful in the beginning. I felt kind of sleazy going out there and being like, hey, let me sell your house. Hey, let me sell your house. Hey, let me sell your house. You want to buy a house with me? You want to buy a house with me? I felt like I was getting paid an unfair amount of money. Does anybody ever experience that get paid way more than you thought your job was worth? You thought the work wasn't that hard? Anybody? Well, you're all worth whatever you're getting paid. Fine, fine. I guess I'm the only one who thought when I made a $20,000 commission for high-fiving people and looking at houses that was a little unfair because I came from a job where I'd work 40 hours a week for an entire year, making $40,000 a year. So when I could make in one closing half of my full year's salary, I felt a little undeserving of that. And so I felt a little sleazy, going out there and helping people. But after about a year, I started learning. I started grasping that really I am helping people. Like, really do people need to sell their house? Really, people did have, complex problems and challenges. And as I got into real estate investing, I was already natural to me. I understood that people did want to sell their houses fast. And later on, as I started capital raising, this was again, it hit me again. I thought I was borrowing money. I thought I was borrowing money. I thought I was borrowing money. Show of hands if you ever felt that way when raising capital. Like, you got to borrow money to go and invest. Anybody ever felt that? Okay. Well, it turns out I'm not borrowing money. I'm putting people's money to work for them because they couldn't figure out a deal to put their money into. They couldn't find the property, they didn't know how to do it. So it took me a while to grasp that I was actually very, very helpful as a human being whenever I was doing these things that also benefited me because I was also getting paid or I was also getting property. So this principle was not an easy one for me. So I'm going to go through it as if, and I know you're all smarter than me. You've been in Alchemist Nation way longer than I. I'd never had this. So it's possible you've come to this agreement with yourself that you got to solve problems for other people and you got to love doing it. For me, it was hard to come to. Show of hands if you grasp, it was not an easy lesson for me to get. I felt icky. I felt weird. So here's what you're going to get out of this. When you do fall in love with doing something, you tend to do it more often. When you enjoy doing something, when it's something you become passionate about, you find yourself just naturally thinking about it all the time. And I do. I think about this community literally all the time. I was looking at a spreadsheet of everybody who's coming to the summit the other night. This is 2 nights ago. And I just sat down and started praying to God. I was like, hey, how do I serve this person and this person while they're in the same exact room? And I was very open to the answers that I received. And it was a moment where you guys were all sleeping, guaranteed, 2 o'clock in the morning. Most of you were sleeping, but I'm sitting there praying over you. And I'm saying, how do I make sure that we get this person to the next level? And I told the same thing to Gary, and he was like, yeah, we got to change some things. At the summit, what we're doing, we got to make some changes. We know who's committed, we know what their problems are, we know what they're doing. That level of love, that level of concern for another person's goals, another person's desires, and what they want to solve their problems, that comes from love. That comes from genuinely thinking about that human being and really wanting them to do well. Show of hands if you could do this for your clients, for rich people, for people around you who have problems. Excellent. Good. So there's three aspects to this. The first aspect of solving problems for people is to identify pain points. So if we've already gotten past the idea that you got to fall in love with solving their problems, show of hands, we agree. We got to love solving the problems. If we don't love it, we're not going to be passionate about it. We're not going to if we're not passionate, we're not going to go do it. So we fall in love with it. So let's figure out how to find their problems. First, pain points. If you've ever gone to the doctor and they have you sit on the table and then they take that little hammer and they go in there, they're looking for your reflexes, right? Has anybody ever had pain when they did that? A little pain when they hit the knee? Yeah. They're also looking to see if you sense pain. And they'll ask you if something is cold, they'll ask you if something is hot, they'll ask you if you can hear this, they'll ask you to see this. They're testing, they're checking to see where the pain points are. They'll move your stomach around, look for lumps. Show of hands if you remember a diagnostic situation with a doctor where they found something. You're like, ah, that hurts. And they're like, well, that's weird. That shouldn't hurt. We should go and take a little bit further steps with this. We want to do the same thing with our customers, with our clients, with people we're raising capital from, with people we're looking to buy properties from. We want to understand their needs. This only comes from questioning. The only way to get information from a person, aside from, let me give you 2 ways. Is it cool if I give you 2 ways? One, you don't have to ask any questions. You could pull a list of people who are likely to be experiencing pain in their lives. A person who is likely to be experiencing too much money. Recent sales of a property in a market that is increasing in value. All the property's been increasing in value for the last 4 or 5 years. A recent sale of a property could allude to the fact that a person has a lot more money than they had previously before the sale. Show of hands if a lot of sellers are making half a million, $1 million when they sell today. Show of hands if you know that's true. It is. If you bought a house in 2019 in Boston and you paid half a million for it, that thing's worth 1.2, 1.3 million today. Let that settle. That's a person who just made 700, 500, $700,000. They sold their house. This is all public record. Show of hands if you can pull reports like this. You can pull public record reports, people who just made $500,000. It's very easy to pull lists of people who are high income right now, who are moving assets, who are selling assets. And some of these people have sold two or three in the same year. What does that mean? They're stacking cash. They're building a war chest. They've got a lot of money sitting around, burning a hole in their pocket. You could do this. You could go pull lists. So you don't have to ask questions. Next, ask their questions, right? What what sort of investments do you invest in? What are you looking to do with that capital? Where are you looking to go? What problems or challenges are you having with investing? Develop a sense of understanding for the customer's feelings, frustrations, and empathize with their approach, with an approach that helps them get to the solutions and that resonates with their needs. You can conduct surveys, you can conduct interviews, you can do market research and gather insights through list pulling, like we just shared. Number two, once you have identified that a person is in pain, we do this inside Alchemist Station. We have 5 stages. We check to see what stage a person's at. That could be at survival, they could be at stabilization, they could be at growth, they could be expansion, or they could be at financial freedom, like looking for freedom. And depending on the stage that they're in, it dictates the type of service that we're going to provide. Some is coaching, some is, online webinars, some is in-person events, some is masterminds, some is one-on-one, like higher level stuff. And it depends on what a person's looking to accomplish that you would go after one of those different buckets. Same with the sellers. Some sellers looking to sell and take the capital. They need the money. Some sellers are looking to get rid of the problems. Some sellers are looking to uh, keep their cash flow. They're looking to buy into something else that provides cash flow as well. So fancy understand those are 3 major problems people have. Some sellers are looking to just get rid of their family, right? Probate deals where they have 5 children who are all now dealing with a property together. The first time they've talked and they can't stand each other, they just got to get rid of this property. They're just trying to get that property taken care of so that they can get rid of those weird conversations with all of their greedy, jealous family members. Has anybody been in one of those deals with probate? Oh, they're sticky. If you get into, you're gonna make money. Oh man, they're sticky. They're tough. So create value. How can we improve their lives, improve their situation? You got to fall in love with the person first. Then you got to find their pain points, and then you can create value. Too many people are going out into the world saying, "Hey, I want to help you. I want to help you. I want to create value. I want to create value. How do I add value to you? How do I add value?" I get this message all the time inside my messenger, Facebook DMs. I open it up, I'm like, dude, how do I add value to you? And it's like, dude, like I know nothing about you. I don't know. You don't even know my problems, right? Like you're just contacting me and saying, "How do I add value to you?" Like that's already annoying. That's one more problem I have. You want to respond to all the people asking me how do I add value inside my messenger? That would be helpful. So there's a challenge of we want to be valuable. We know that, but we don't take the time to ask the questions or do the research to be truly valuable. Show of hands if we commit to finding out what their problems are. Excellent. So once we do know their problems, develop products, services, or solutions. A lot of creative financing is not run of the mill, like, hey, why don't you just seller finance this deal? A lot of it is customized in the moment. Names on deeds is about knowing the functions and being able to customize a creative strategy that's going to work for that seller. If you listen to my creative financing deals, every deal I've ever done, it's a different scenario, it's a different strategy. I've identified 63 different ways to buy real estate, but you could combine any of them and create an infinite different set of strategies. It's just that there's 63 that are really specific ways that we can buy real estate. Like this is the one strategy, the functions. So let me frame that differently. 63 different functions within a real estate transaction. And even that, you could still buy houses with a boat. You could transact with, uh, technically slavery is illegal, but in certain countries, you could actually trade a human. I could trade Billy Reuter for a house in certain countries. It's still technically legal. It's not in the United States, though. But show fans, if you understand, there are emerging markets outside of the United States. There are other places to invest. Yeah, not encouraging it, but it is possible, and a lot of my friends do. In fact, Mike bought a house in an island off the coast of Honduras, Roatan. He owns a 5 family out there. So offer solutions. Be creative in the process. Listen to their problems and create strategies and steps to move them forward. We're not dealing with $500 transactions here. We're talking about $1 million transactions. We're talking about paydays of $500,000. We're talking about paydays of $1 million or $5 million. So they're big paydays. So it's okay to take more than 5 minutes to come up with a solution for a seller. Show of hands if you agree. We can take the time to develop the right strategy. As long as they're having the conversation with us, we're in a good position. Be proactive, anticipate their problems before they arise, and position yourself as a resource that can help the customer reach their ultimate goal, which in today's market, it is getting a person's money to work for them. Inflation has been just a terrible, terrible story, and it's been beating people up, especially if they're not in assets. And so to be able to put money back to work that isn't in the stock market is a good strategy for a lot of investors right now who pulled out of the stock market fearful and are kind of sitting on the sidelines and not sure what to do next. It's also a good strategy for people who are sitting in 401ks that they need to put their money somewhere, right? Self-directed 401ks or shifting themselves to self-directed 401ks. Vinny told me the other day it's $39.9 trillion sitting in America's retirement accounts right now. That is a lot of money. That's T, trillion with a T, $39.9 trillion dollars. And if you think you understand how big a trillion is, you don't. And then let me explain, you don't understand how big a billion is because you've never had a billion of anything in your life, not even maybe oxygen air molecules. Maybe you've had a billion oxygen air molecules hit your lungs through some capacity in your life. But a billion is a lot. A billion is 1,000 millions. Show of hands if a million is a lot and 1,000 millions makes 1 billion and a trillion is 1,000 billions. There's not much in this world that you could count at that level and scale, but there are 39.9 trillion dollars sitting in retirement accounts that you could use to invest in real estate. Show of hands if you grasp that number now. Yeah, no, still don't. It's just too big. It's too crazy. So, number three, monetize your expertise. If you're not talking to people who have money, you're not going to have money. If you're talking to people who have problems, you will have problems. If you talk to people who have problems and money, you will end up with their problems for a short period of time, but then their money at the end. If you talk to people with problems, by the way, the people with the most problems don't have money. So it's very important that you qualify this. The people with the most problems tend not to have money. The people with the best problems do have money. They transact it with money. People with the most problems and the most important problems typically don't have money. So it's really important that you go and make money from the people who have the easiest, better problems to solve. And then that's what charities are for, to be able to contribute and donate back to people who don't have money. Show of hands if you agree. Money is kind of an important aspect to solving problems on the planet. So we got to go make it. So monetizing your expertise, leverage your problem solving skills. Write these down. As you solve other people's problems, find ways to monetize the expertise via consulting, coaching, delivering scalable solutions, purchasing their properties, putting their money to work for them post-sale, avoiding taxes. I said coaching and yeah, so guidance and literally being there through the process. Sometimes just picking up your phone and calling a person, even though there's no update to provide, but giving them an update could be considered valuable. Many people in our industry get something under agreement and then they're like, I'll see you at the closing table. And then when the deal falls apart at the closing table, they wonder why. But sometimes just scheduling a call with that person, even though they got under agreement, scheduling the call, checking in, say, hey, by the way, nothing new. We're still closing on the state. Nothing new. We're still closing on the state. Nothing new. We're still closing on the state. Just staying in touch with the people who you're doing large, high value net worth deals with will actually close the deals and get you customer service. By the way, customer referrals. People who are selling at a discount, people who are lending money to you, know people who will do the same. Like attracts like. Their network typically it tends to be the same people. So people who have sold at a discount know people who will sell at a discount. In fact, people going through divorce tend to go to divorce-y clubs. They tend to go to the same counselor. Tend to go to the same bars. They tend to go to the same places. So people who are going through hardships, death, divorce, disease, denial, drugs, or any of the challenges that people go through, know other people going through them because that's our natural instinct. We'll start reaching out for people who've experienced the same thing before. Show of hands if that makes sense. So staying in touch with those customers, those clients, is going to be an increase of referrals. Also, people who've lent to you, people who have lended to you in the past, people who have lended to me in the past, tend to bring other friends to lend to me as well. So when you're looking to purchase property, you need to bring people in, you're looking to lend or borrow, then there's a good chance that somebody who you just borrowed from will know somebody else who you could borrow from as well. In fact, people ask me all the time when they're raising capital, hey, you invested in this deal. Who else do you know who might be interested in this deal? I got a few people because that's what I do. I passively invest. And so other people passively invest along with me. And so that's a really smart move. Please don't send me that message though. I have my money is all applied and allotted. You can send it to Gary. Gary knows a lot of people investing as well. All right. Let's see, we got Doug on here. Doug is here. Mitch is here. Mike is here. Action steps. You ready? First, I want you to commit to the amount of value you want to create in the world. So, step one, create an amount of people you want to solve, the problem you want to solve for them, and the amount of people you want to solve this for. So, if let me put this in example, I was talking to Dorina, and I set a goal to acquire 200 units next year. So I said I want to provide housing for 200 families, just me and Dorina. This is outside of the fund, outside of my investing with Greg, outside of my investing with everybody else. I said me and her, I just want to get our personal portfolio to 200 units next year. And I just want us to be, giving that type of value. I want to go back to being that kind of landlord where I have my own units and I know what I'm doing and I'm delivering 200 houses to people. And that to me is as tangible. It's a number and it's a type of inventory. I love working with blue collar families. Like that's where I grew up. That's what I love. So 200 houses provided to people. So what do you want to do? So I want you to write down a goal of delivering value to a group of people. Now, to do this, I'm probably going to buy 20 to 40 unit buildings. So it could be 5 40 unit buildings or it could be 10 20 unit buildings. And I know I'm going to probably bring in some capital for that. So I'm going to help my lenders, I'm going to help those sellers, and then I'll ultimately get to the client that I want to work with, which is the tenant who's getting the housing from me. But in the beginning, to get to the housing, I'll have to go and help two other groups of people. I'll help a mortgage broker get a loan, right? I'll help a property manager manage some property. So I'll be helping a lot of people along the way, but it comes down to two anchor people that I got to help first. First, it's the person who owns the property. So I got to help them get out of the property. And then second is the person who has capital that they want to put to work. I got to help them put their capital to work. And then after that, I get the opportunity to go help a property manager get more work to take on more properties. And then I get the opportunity to help those tenants get clean, safe housing. So fantasy graphs, the people I've got to help, the problems I got to solve. I'd like you to write those down for yourself now. What goal do you have for next year? So who are the people you got to help? What problems do they have? So you could phrase it first. You can put on the left side the things that you need, and then on the right side of that, you could phrase them as a solution. That Gary was doing this the other day. We were like, what are the problems we have in Alchemist Nation? Well, they don't have $1 million. Well, fuck, that's a problem. Well, how do we get $1 million? They'll put him in the mastermind. The mastermind buys real estate. That once you have real estate, once you have $1 million, what do you do with that? Well, now you have to go and put that $1 million in a passive investments, right? Instead of having them just stuck in high management, low ROI, ROE stuff, you put them into things that pay a higher ROE. But what if a person doesn't have the ability to go buy real estate, right? They're not six-figure earners because we don't think you should go buy real estate unless you're earning six figures and you own your own home. That's a real, for me, it's becoming a real obvious blaring like thing that people should have. By the way, show of hands if you understand. If you bought a house, it's easier to buy the next house. But if you haven't bought your own house, it's like really hard. You're buying an investment and a house. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of stress for people. So typically, we find that people who own their own home tend to buy real estate much easier. So they invest much easier. So now when we're looking for people who we want to bring into our mastermind, we're just looking at homeowners. It's like, dude, just pull a list of homeowners. Holy shit, they already own a house. They probably got kids. There's a good chance they're going to want to invest in real estate. Like that's why didn't I think of that sooner? So if you grasped, there's a lot of ways to help. So the other group, that group that hasn't earned six figures, are like, man, like you need to go earn six figures. That's kind of a work ethic thing. It's a system thing. It's sales, right? You got to go and sell. You got to increase income. Six-figure earners, show fans, if you're mostly in sales, you do a lot of selling to get to that money. Yeah, it's kind of true. So other than that, maybe you're a high-powered engineer, high-powered doctor. Like there's a handful of really good trades that pay very well. Attorneys can do very well, but even attorneys, I think, are in sales. Doctors are in sales, and uh, it's a wonderful business to be in if you've got a good product. And if you don't have a good product, then sales is terrible because then you're not going to make any money because nobody's going to send you referrals. So first, write down the thing you're going to do to help a lot of people, the problems you're going to solve. Write them down. And I want you to, as Doug gives us our affirmations today, I want you to really listen to this idea of falling in love. So after the affirmations are done, after we go through the guided hypnosis, I want you to start writing down all of the affirmations you have in your head around solving those problems. So we're going to do this kind of out of the norm for us. Normally, I give you all the action steps, and then we go into guided meditation, hypnosis. But for today, because it's really important that we come from an authentic place when we're actually like going out and loving our customers, I want you to do this through an opening process. So first, write down at the top on the paper the problems you want to solve. That means you're getting some sort of benefit from solving those problems. Either you're helping a person sell their house at a discount to you, you're helping them sell their finance, they're putting their money to work for them, they're avoiding taxes, their legacy wealth, they're putting all of that capital into a trust where they're getting all that back, and you're providing housing for people. All like write those problems you want to solve down, and then I want you to make a line, and underneath it, I want you to start listing the reasons you love doing this, the passion, the reason you love doing this, why you love helping people, why you love helping these particular people, why you are really good at solving these particular problems. Michael Shine's a holistic attorney, but he's more than just an attorney. We call him the holistic attorney for a reason. And it's not just because he's vegan. It's because Michael actually cares about the whole transaction. A lot of closing attorneys are deal killers. They're like, oh, well, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, well, that doesn't work. Mike's like, well, let's see how we could make that work. Let me see how we can make that work. Let me see how we can make that work. This here isn't normal. Let me see how we can make that work. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we adjust this? Can we make this happen? And Mike's willing to work with lenders and with other attorneys, and he's willing to work with sellers, and he keeps the deal together, right? So that's a different approach. That's loving the job, loving the customers enough, loving the closing of deals. Mike's a closing attorney. He likes to close. And if a deal's not getting close to closing, he's like, let's get it to close. Like, we got to close this deal. So friends, for catching this. We grasp, he loves what he does. He loves you guys. He loves his community. He loves real estate. He buys real estate. He's the holistic attorney for a reason, right? He helps with his community to level up because he loves it. He's passionate about, seeing you build wealth. He's built wealth for himself. He's still building wealth. Mike loves the game. He loves building wealth. He can't help himself. When he and I are on conversations, we're talking about Tesla. We're talking about investments. We're talking about the market. We're talking about different functions. He's the one I learned margin from. I learned how to margin, my accounts to take money from stocks and buy real estate with that those accounts. So there's a lot that we can get from falling in love. So I want you to have a line underneath the things you want to help with. And then as Doug's bringing us through the exercise, I want you to just write down the passion that you have for fixing those problems. And if you find that you don't have a ton of passion for fixing those problems, pretend, right? I pretended in the beginning too. I pretended to like old people. I had to pretend to like the Portuguese community. And here's what happened. Eventually I did. I had to pretend to get to their houses. But once I got to their houses, at the beginning, I didn't like the smells. I didn't like the smells of old people. But after a little while, I was like, you know what? It smells like old people in here. It smells like money. It smells like problems. It smells like we gotta solve some issues today. I started going into those houses, and like the changes I experienced in myself as a human being were things that used to bother me. Mothballs used to bother me. When I smelled mothballs, I'm like, oh, dude, I know why they do that. Like, now it makes sense because I've asked. I was falling in love with the client, falling in love with the customer. And it made it so much easier. And even when I think about going into an old person's house, I'm like, dude, I wonder what I'm going to see today. You know, what weird uniqueness of this person's life has veered from all the other older folks that I have met with. Because everybody who's lived long enough on this planet becomes really fucking unique. I'd say at the beginning of life, like my child right now, at the beginning of life, they're all about the same. Love him. I'm like, everything about him is so unique and special. But at the same time, he's learning his hand movements the same way you learned your hand movements. He's learning about sounds, and he's seeing things the same way every one of us saw things. But as we get older in life, our lives really diverge from like everybody else's experiences. Some person served in that war and that changed them in this way. Some person owned this business and they own 10 businesses. And it's like, holy shit, I need to sit here and figure out how you bought 10 of these bread companies. That's absolutely insane. So as you start going out and falling in love, find ways to fall in love with the customer. Show of hands, we grasp this homework, this action step. This isn't like do this later. This is do this now with us today. Before we go into the guided meditation, every single week there's a book of the week. And this week's book of the week is brought to you by our holistic attorney, our closer. Let's give Michael Shine, the keeper of the books, a big round of applause. Mike, what is this week's book of the week?
Hey, Walter. This week's book is such a fun book. It's called Blue Fishing by Steve Sims. And I'm never one of those people who likes cliches. Where people say think outside the box, and how many billions of times have we heard that? But when I think of this book, I really think about thinking outside the box because Steve Sims, the ideas that he has in this book's about helping people. This is like a lot. Sometimes, when Walter and I put the books together with the concept for the week, we were like, this is okay. But this one is absolutely perfect because all Steve Sims did was learn how to solve people's problems in unique ways. And he crushes it. So much fun. He started as a bricklayer. There's a picture at the beginning of the book of him going up these ladders with like pounds and pounds of bricks. Walter's got the picture of it. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I mean, it looked like I had never thought about carrying bricks up to fix a chimney or whatever, but it has got to be one of the hardest jobs I've ever seen. He and his uncle did it, his grandfather did it, the whole family was in this, and he said, I'm not doing this anymore. And so he started sponsoring like clubs, and he figured out a way to get people to clubs on those off days, And just like Walter was saying, he was just looking to see how he could solve a problem. And by doing that, he actually became super successful. I don't know if it's Jim Rohn, but somebody says if you want to be successful, just make everyone else around you successful. And that's basically what Steve Sims did. He just crushes this with his book, but he also, when I say think outside the box, like one of his things that he did was he ripped you got a magazine and there was a picture of a Porsche in the magazine, and he just ripped it out of the magazine, wrote on it, and sent it as a note to someone. Whoever thinks of doing that? Like a scrap piece of paper, but it created mystery. It created like, this guy's different. And then now he does stuff for people. Like there was a guy who said they wanted to see Journey, and he was like, you want to see Journey, the band? And he's like, no, you're not going to just see Journey. He ended up getting this guy on stage to sing with Journey. Like, you're going above and beyond. There's stories, there's some guy, I think it might have been Elon Musk, even though he doesn't tell you who it is, but he wanted to have the James Bond experience. And he had it go all the way from Monaco to Russia with like Bond girls and Ferraris and all sorts of stuff like that. So when you're thinking of how you can help your customer, this book is perfect for telling you that, wow, we are thinking very small about the things we can do when we say, like me, I take my customers out for sushi or something like that. Steve Sims is on another level, and it makes you realize that you can amp up what you do. Maybe you don't take people to Russia with love, but you can certainly play a bigger game. And God, such a fun book. It's a book you can read on the beach. It has amazing messages in it, but it's fun to read. I highly recommend Blue Fishing. Steve Sims he's just such a goof. He's the man. So yeah, Steve Sims, Blue Fishing.
Let's give Michael Shine a round of applause. Absolutely crushed the book of the week. I personally met Steve Sims, had him on my podcast a few years ago, and what a cool dude. That accent is real. That is his accent. If you download the audio version of the book, you'll hear Steve actually talking and reading the book himself. So really, really fun to listen to him. And then you can go back to Alchemist Station podcast and pull up Steve Sims and actually listen to the podcast where I interviewed Steve. What a phenomenal dude. Yeah, I can't say enough about the book. It was such a game changer for me, and this principle really came out of this idea of helping and add value to people. And I forgot to mention the last part to this action step. Once you have identified the problems you're going to solve, once you fall in love with the customer, then you have to tell everyone, absolutely tell everyone who you're looking to serve and how you're looking to serve them. They don't have to be your ideal customer when you're telling them, but you need to tell absolutely everybody. Promote shamelessly that you love helping this type of person. Tell everyone, this is the sort of person I'm looking for. This is the way I help them. This is why I love what I do. And you be passionate and absolutely focused on what you do to help those people. I used to tell people when I was in their houses, I said, man, I love helping Portuguese people consolidate their real estate, because my grandparents had to suffer through dealing with a multifamily, and they just wanted to sell it and they didn't want to deal with it, and they wanted to go to a single family home, and they never did that while they were alive. And I wish that I had the knowledge that I had today so that I could do that for them so that they'd have more money in their retirement. They'd live the life they want to live. They'd not have the stress of the tenants at the very end. And I used to tell them, I love doing this for you because it's something I couldn't do for my grandparents. So I'll continue to push, I'll continue to do this, and I'm gonna take really good care of you guys just the way I would with my grandparents. And that to me was my authentic reason for doing it. And even today, building this community, I believe you're going to go out and help other people's grandparents, which is why I continue to teach and show what I do. Because to me, there's a lot of people on this planet who need a lot of help. Vinny tells it to me all the time, 10,000 people a day are turning 65. 10,000 people a day are turning 65 years old. They are the wealthiest people on the planet, the 65-year-olds. If you look at the billionaires, all the billionaires, they're over 55 years old. Show of hands if you know this. The majority of billionaires are over 55 years old. The majority of millionaires, deca millionaires, over 55 years old. The majority of wealth sits in the hands of 55, 65, 75-year-old people, and they're having a hard time managing it. After a little while, things start to burn out. It gets hard, it gets difficult, and they need somebody to come in and solve those problems. So give yourselves a round of applause. Love this community. Love that you're out there working and helping solve the problems for people who need some help. All right, Doug McGurk. He trained with Tony, toured with Tony, helped Tony Robbins build millionaires, and he's trained over 10,000 real estate professionals over the years, more than 10,000 real estate professionals over the years. He's done his guided hypnotic and helped our community level up their mindset and their brains. And what we're going to do today with Doug, what we've been doing for this past year and a half, 2 years, is been going into these guided meditations so we can just take all of this education and instantaneously have it inside of our brain so it works that way. So if you were kind of like me, where at the beginning I had a hard time believing that what I was doing was actually helpful, we're going to make sure that that's not a problem for you. And if you have a hard time falling in love with some of the work, because I did have a hard time calling people, that was hard for me. Now I love calling people as long as I know what we're doing. So falling in love with the idea, falling in love with doing the work. Let's give Doug McGurk, the maximizer, a big round of applause as he jumps in and gives us a little guided meditation.
All right, let's give Walter and everyone some love that you're here. Badass, you're still here after how long? So you are committed. Looking forward to seeing you all at the summit. All right, so let's dive right in, shall we? So let me know if you're hearing some music. But all right. Now, why don't you go ahead and take a nice, big, deep, cleansing breath in. Roll your eyes up to the back of your head. Do you feel a little strain? And relax. That's right. Take another big, deep, cleansing breath in and tense every muscle in your body. Tense them up, tense them up. Tense your arms, tense your legs, tense your butt, tense your gut, tense your cheek, tense everything. Hold it. Hold it. And relax. That's right. Now, with your eyes closed, with every breath you take in, feel yourself filling even more with openness, gratitude, and faith. And imagine yourself walking into a grand hall of mirrors, each reflection showing not just your image, but the images of many others, each with their own stories and challenges. And as you step further into the hall, allow yourself to relax deeper with every breath. Your mind becoming more receptive and your heart more open to the stories reflected around you. Reflect deeply on each image you see. Open your heart to the stories unfolding in the mirrors. And as you connect even more to your higher power, to God, to Mother Nature, repeat these affirmations aloud or in your mind. I am deeply connected to the needs and emotions of others. I find joy and purpose in creating solutions that enrich lives. And I wonder if you can ask and answer these questions, these affirmations. Why am I so effective at identifying the pain points of others? How does understanding people's needs enrich both their lives and mine? And as you walk through the hall, each mirror begins to tell a story, not in words, but through the emotions and needs of the people reflected. These are the pain points, the areas where each person feels a lack, a desire for improvement, a need for a solution. So listen with your whole being to understand deeply. Embrace the emotions and needs as your own. Envision that with each understanding, a pathway lights up, leading you to the heart of their challenge. Here, you find opportunities to create value, to weave solutions into the fabric of their needs. So you create connections that solve and soothe, and generate solutions that resonate deeply with their needs. Imagine now, each solution you create transforms into a tangible object of value, a golden key. This key not only unlocks their challenges, but also opens doors to new opportunities for you. Pathways to prosperity and fulfillment. And with this deep connection to God, to purpose, to passion, repeat these affirmations aloud or in your mind. Every problem I solve adds richness to my life and the lives of others. My ability to empathize and create value is a source of immense wealth. And connect to these affirmations. Why does solving problems feel so rewarding and fulfilling? How do I consistently transform challenges into opportunities for growth and wealth? And as you continue your journey through the hall, the reflections begin to smile, their burdens lightened by your efforts. You realize that falling in love with the person behind the problem, understanding their world, and tailoring your solutions to their needs is the essence of true value creation. So carry this love for problem solving into every interaction. Let each person you meet teach you something valuable about their life, their needs, and how you can create solutions that resonate on a deep, meaningful level. And know that you can return to the Hall of Mirrors whenever you need guidance. Let the gratitude of those you help remind you of your purpose and impact. Come on back.
As we're coming back to the room, let's give Doug McGurk a nice big round of applause. Remember the action step of writing down those reasons for loving solving problems. Let's take a quick moment, just write down underneath those problems we're going to solve the reasons that we love working with that particular problem, that particular client. Just write them down really quickly. I'll go through some of the examples that I gave earlier. I love working with older folks who own 2, 3, 4 multifamilies and are overburdened with the challenge of managing them today. It was easier when they were younger. Maybe their spouse passed away. A lot of times I was working with older ladies who their husband had passed away 3 or 4 years earlier. And now half of the buildings are vacant because they didn't want to go and put new tenants in because tenants were stress for them. So now they're dealing with these paid off properties that their husband used to manage, and they just don't want the properties anymore. But they don't know who to trust. They don't know how to do it the right way. And I loved navigating those challenges, bringing their kids involved in the conversations and working through those issues. Whether I was going to be the buyer or I was going to sell it or I was going to pass it to an agent or another investor, I loved the challenge of solving a seemingly impossible problem for that person and taking them through a complex series of steps to get them and make it simplified, make it easier. Uh, I had to learn Portuguese. Right? Portuguese was something I was like okay with, and over time, I had to learn Portuguese because that was the common language of that generation. Right? It was a very Portuguese population in Fall River, so I had to learn and speak Portuguese better. And then I brought on agents who could speak Portuguese, and that made it a lot easier. I got to work with my dad. My dad speaks Portuguese fluently, so he got his real estate license, and I would just send my dad to those properties and say, "Hey, Dad, like this person's Portuguese. This is the challenge. Just have this kind of conversation with them." So then I was helping my dad, be an agent and go out and get more business. And I was helping people who I wasn't able to serve at a high level do the same thing I was doing with other families. So those are like problems that kept arising and I kept finding ways to solve them. And it was just fun to me. It was a game of how can we make my city better? How can I make sure that these older folks got real retirement? Investing. I had one gentleman one day tell me he had $500,000 in cash. And I said, yeah, I'll offer you like I can put that money to work for you and I'll pay you 12%. And he looked at me and said, 12%? That's a lot. I was like, I know. You're welcome. He's like, how do you make them like that's a lot of money. You can't make money doing that. The 8%'s, more realistic. I told him, I was like, bro, I can make money at 12%. Don't worry. I'm gonna buy the house at this price. I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna get most of the rents. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get most of the rents. You're not gonna make any money. I was like, yeah, I'll work for free for a little while, but then I'm gonna refinance and I'll get you paid off and I'll be back in the game. And to him, he was like, this is insane. This is high value. I remember one gentleman came out, drove an hour from Boston, came down, sat with me and Ron. And when he was like signing the documents to give us the money, he said, so 12%, really? We're like, yeah, 12%, really. It's paid 1% per month. That's why we keep it nice and simple. So they give us 100,000, you're getting $1,000 a month. And he loved it. He just was like so in awe that we were paying that much. And we just explained how we work and how we do it. And he was just thankful. And to this day, he's still a lender of ours. I think 4 or 5 years later, he's still one of our lenders, still thankful for us writing those checks. So that is another thing I fell in love with was, that consistent money in the bank, right? They get that little letter every month from us. Now it's direct deposit. But before it used to be a letter, like we'd mail out a letter, and every so often I'd go and I'd write a hand letter, thank you for them for, trusting us with their money. And that to me was just part of the fun of falling in love. So think about write down the things you can love doing, getting good at it, getting better at it, I love referrals because referrals and testimonials mean I've done an amazing job. So I love, the over delivering. So I end up with a testimonial. I love asking for testimonials. I love asking for referrals because it's literally part of why I work and what I do. So fall in love with the things, write those things down. Just write down a few things that you can absolutely fall in love with and why you fall in love with it, why it's meaningful to you. I shared the story of my grandparents. That meant a lot to me. And another one, the reason I did a subject to house for a woman, bought her house subject to her existing mortgage. And prior to that, I didn't really like the idea of subject to. I still think it's annoying and it's a pain in the ass. But for that particular woman, subject to is the only way I could buy her house. And she was begged me to do it. And I like that's a story that stays with me. So when I do offer sub two, I think of it that way. I think of, I'm doing a service for somebody who has no other options. And the only way for me to buy this would be through this means. So it's okay for me to do it there. So falling in love with the work itself, falling in love with the customer themselves. Anyway, that's the homework. Summit is October 18th to the 20th. We're in my head 10 days away because I got to be out there on Tuesday. So I'm like next week I'll be in Orlando. Show fans, if you're planning your trip next week, you'll be in Orlando as well. Not this week, but the week after, we're flying in, we're driving in, we're doing our things. I can't wait to hang out. Some of you I've never met in person. So some of you, this will be the first time we've actually hung out in person. Some of you I haven't seen in 5 years in person. So some of you, this will be a very cool experience to finally like see each other and hang out again. You've been through a lot these last few years. You've been through a lot these last few months. Some of you I've seen you many times, and I love the high fives and the hugs and getting together and taking pictures and selfies. I want to be very clear. We are taking a fuck ton of pictures, selfies, and videos this year. I want each of you to be able to promote all year round that you are an active real estate investor, that you are in the business, that you are doing deals. For the folks who are in VIP, I want you to be creative. I'm bringing the $1 million. So VIPs on Thursday, the VIP day, where you and I are together all day, there'll be a time during the lunch where I'm going to have the $1 million there and I have my photographers there. So you can actually do video and photography with the $1 million. So I want you to VIPs just be thinking, if you want to perform some sort of commercial, like, hey, we buy houses in cash, and you want to do something like that, you're going to do it on Thursday. The money will be there. You'll have as much time as you need with it, about 2 hours. There's only 40 people in the room, so we'll be able to, as long as we coordinate very well, we can do any kind of commercial you want to do with the $1 million so that you can promote and use that for ads later on throughout the year. Just please be very well prepared. So you got, let's call it 10 days to get your mind right, to get any kind of scripts right, to practice things. And then for everybody who is a community leader, now's the time to reach out to everybody that you know and say, hey guys, last hard call, last push, get to the summit, buy your tickets, let's get you there. The reason it makes sense for us to bring people to the summit is only if you know, like, and trust them. It's somebody you want to do business with, somebody that you want to see do well. So family members, absolutely bring your family. If you're having a hard time getting them on board or they don't understand what you do, the summit is a great place. We're gonna have a lot of fun. So it's not just education. It's not just like, hey, here's real estate numbers, 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 numbers. We're gonna mess them up with how much fun real estate investing is. We're gonna talk a lot. We'll do mindset. We'll do fun experiences. We're going to make it a very interesting, fun game. It's designed for couples to invest in real estate. So, fans, if you're a couple and invest in real estate, invest with your spouse. Yeah. So it's with that in mind. I've had nurses sit in VIP with their husband who does all the deals and be like, yeah, I'm probably just going to sit in for a little bit and then stay the entire weekend because they were having a blast learning about real estate investing, learning about business, learning about themselves, learning about the couple and the relationship, how this works, learning how to scale up and why investment makes so much sense. So the summit is absolutely, it's fun, it's effective, but don't get me wrong, it's work. Day one is a lot of work. We're going to be putting a lot of the planning together. I need you to set your goals now. At the summit, we will do a goal setting exercise, but really having your goals already in the front of your mind, thinking about them, really going deep into your soul before we get to the summit, having anchored really strong, like I'm committed to doing this particular goal, we'll come up with the solutions of how we get there at the summit. Show fan, if that makes sense. We're going to put it all together at the summit, but I need you to have goals. Do not come to the summit without a goal. Rule number one about the summit: if you do not want more for your life, please don't show up. That if you want more for your life, if you're looking to create and accomplish a massive passive income generating ideas this year, that's what the summit's for. I need you to write them down. I need you to have reason for doing it. Don't just tell me you want to make 10,000 passive income. Tell me why. So I want you to write down your goals. I want you to come with a purpose, a reason for doing it. That will help us because creating $1 million, creating 10,000 passive income, it is work. It does involve work, does involve some uncomfortable things. As much as Mike Shine will tell me, he's like, bro, it's abundance mindset. Yeah, it's not work. It's effortless. It all comes easily. Mike's also done some very uncomfortable things that he would have rather not do, but it turned out to be very good for him. He's been in deals that were scary. He's partnered with people he didn't know if they knew everything, and then they turned out to be amazing partners. He's taken some risks, and he's also partnered with some wrong people, early in his career, early in his life. So uh, we're going to take risks this year, but we want to teach you the strategies and the techniques of how to make sure that they're calculated risks. So anyway, that's one simple way for me to say, it's a long-winded way for me to say, bring your goals. So fans who commit to have goals and bring them, document them, write them down. If you're walking around with a little crumpled up piece of paper in your pocket that is your goals, perfect. I love it. If it's on your cell phone, it's in your notes. Perfect. I love it. If it's emblazoned into your soul, into your heart, into your head, and you could spit it back to me like very quickly, even better. The more clear, more passionate, more focused you are on your goals, the more easily the whole event at the summit will go for you, the more effective it's going to be for you. So with that being said, let's give each one of you a big round of applause. The link is summit.alchemiststation.com. If you haven't already bought your tickets, please go do so. And if you haven't gotten your hotel, Darina is on my ass about making sure everybody uses the hotel link that she provides so that she gets credit for having filled the hotel, because if we don't do it that way, you pay more money. We want you to have the most affordable experience. Questions and answers, my favorite point. We've got Pete Ambrosino's on here. We've got Mitch Jorsky, the Scaredy Cat Guide to Real Estate Investing. We got Gary Aker, the Master of Leadership. Billy Reuter, the King of the Trifecta. Michael Shine, the Holistic Attorney. We've got myself and Ron Bowling, the CFO of Alchemist Station, and obviously Darina Pagodina. It's pronounced Pagodina, who is the king, queen, the master behind the machine. Actually, Darina, let's get a share from you. It's been a little while. You've been quiet. Oh, we got Brian Kent. Brian Kent, the author of The R Factor. We've got a lot of great people on the call who you can ask questions to. First to unmute will be Darina. We want to share from you. What does it mean to you to help a lot of people?
Well, thank you. It was a wonderful call. Actually, we were on the walk, but listening attentively, every single word, including the meditation. I kept my eyes on the road, though. I think if you just help yourself, you kind of kept out real fast and it becomes really boring. And you can only want that much, what do you really want to have? A safe home? Maybe you want, if you're thinking for yourself, you want a nice family, but that's it. A few years down the road, you become a boring person. And if you open up and you see what other people around you are looking for and want, and it's just so much capacity for you to personally grow, to lift everyone around you with you. And I think the life becomes so much more fun, even if you're solving problems. You just have to pick and choose what problems you're willing to tackle. You can't say yes to everything. If there's something you're passionate about, you just go for it, and your life becomes a lot more meaningful. You'll build community around yourself, right, Emerson? And then you will never run out of things to do. I'm a high I always want to do something, and why not choose something bigger so then you can spend your life on helping others. And again, it's fun. And if you're just thinking of yourself, it becomes too boring too quick.
Give Darina a round of applause. She's one of the few people who will say thinking about yourself becomes boring. She's amazing. She literally is the reason we do networking events. She's the reason we do the summit. I told her last night and reminded her last night, if it wasn't for the summit, if it wasn't for Darina, the summit would never have existed. It is not natural to me to be on stage, although you'll find that on stage I look natural as hell. I'm damn good at it. That's a practiced, effort created, produced result that you'll be getting. And I work very hard to make sure that every single word is intentional. The value that you receive at the summit is because we're working very hard to deliver that. But that's hard work. It's not natural, right? It's something we work towards. Sales is something we work towards. Show fans you're willing to be unnatural, but do things over and over so that it becomes natural looking. Awesome. Champions. Billy Reuter, give us a share, man. What can we expect from you at the summit, bro? The trifecta is coming.
Oh, brother. Well, first off, great to see everybody. One thing I can guarantee, I don't guarantee many things, is you can expect a lot of hugs. I want to hug everybody. Love you all. This community is everything. Yeah, one thing that, again, I'm writing a bunch of notes, and I'll make this short. there's no lack of people saying to solve people's problems. And I think that's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. That's why we're all here. And if I may, I want to share something that a mentor taught me a long time ago. And I teach this in my sales for my clients. Focus on the symptoms of the problem, right? So there's the overarching problem. I'll give it, I'm obviously from the fitness business. You don't have enough clients in the fitness business. The symptoms is that the gym owner looks out to an empty parking lot. That symptom creates pain, right? In a relationship, we're just not as intimate as we used to be, right? My wife gives me a kiss like I'm a stranger every time I say goodbye. The symptom is really where the emotion lays, right? When you're dealing with investors, there's a fear, right? They're watching all of their friends get massively wealthy because they're delegating their funds to real estate, and they're feeling they could miss out on passing that on. Really understanding the symptom of the problem. Well, yes, it's marketing, yes, it's sales, but it'll help you really understand viscerally the experience that your client is going through. Really focus on the symptoms, right? Yes, I'm overweight, but the symptom, I try to close my shirt and the buttons don't go well. That is where those pain points are. And I promise you, if you learn how to speak to that, and this is not my word, this is my mentor's word, start to speak symptomese, right? It's like its own language, really focusing on the symptom, and you will absolutely build trust because you're in a position to solve their problem. And yes, trifecta for life. Love you all.
Give Billy Roy a round of applause. Let me share, since we're all looking for the symptoms, since we're learning symptomese, write this down. This is my favorite marketing campaign to say to a high net worth individual: house rich, cash poor. Write that statement down. You're speaking symptomese. House rich, cash poor. I have been there. In fact, I'm fucking there again because the houses keep going up in value. It's so annoying. House rich, cash poor, right? If that means my ROE is going down. Every time the property value goes up, my ROE goes down. My return on equity goes down because I'm still getting the same amount of cash flow. My property just keeps going up in value. So now I got to go and do something with that property. I got to sell that property, go buy something else that has a higher ROE on it. So that is, there's a lot of people who they're not as vigilant as I am. They got terrible ROE. They got 1%, 2% ROE. And that is painful because I got to sell that property, go put it in the stock market and get 10 and 12%. So if you know, the stock market does 10 and 12, like why not? They could lend it to you at 10 and 12 and they make more money just lending it to you. So house rich, cash poor, symptomies. I love that. Let's get another share. Mitch Jorsky, give us a quote, man. Give us a quote. It's Scaredy Cat Guide to Real Estate Investing. You're going to be at the summit. I think you're going to be on the real estate panel if you accept, if you agree.
It's up to you, buddy.
I mean, I voluntold you the other day via chat, so I feel
Told me.
yeah.
I like that. I'm going to use that way more often. I feel like there's a lot of people in my life that voluntold things.
Yeah, it's mostly Dorina.
It's funny. I was thinking of like the most simple quote unquote rap quote that I've said in years gone past, but you kept talking about, solving a problem. And obviously, you identified one in terms of like, the older generation and these houses that are going to be either, you know, left to children or they don't know what to do with or whatever it is. So you're solving a problem, like you identified a problem. And I always joke about how, the late great rapper, the notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls used to say, more money, more problems. And I'm just like, no, it's more problems, more money because you're solving more problems and these problems that you're solving make you money. And you gave a clear example of just that one specific niche that you talked about today. So go out and solve those problems, make that money because more problems solved, more money made. And that's
Give
all I have
Mitch
to say
Jorsky a
about that.
round of applause. Him and his partner are solving problems out in Massachusetts. That's why they're buying real estate. Victor
Facts.
Lopez, is that the I Buy Leans shirt? Is that your company? Do you own ibuyleans.com? Because that'll blow my mind. No way. Awesome. Let's give Victor Lopez a round of applause. All right, Coach Pete Ambrosino, one of our consultants, somebody who's been working with us quite a bit. Go ahead. Give us a little share, brother.
So I was taken in. I apologize, I was late, but one thing I do promise when I show up to the summit is that I will smell better because I just got out of the gym. So I apologize for my smell right now for everyone.
Smells like money.
Two is I am not as good looking as this camera makes me look on Zoom. That's for darn sure. Three, I want to say that Walter invited everybody to bring your goals on a piece of paper. Doesn't matter what format. I want you to think about goals in a way, maybe a little differently, and think of actual outcomes. Goals are great. However, they may not be real. The outcome is real. How achieving this will make you be, feel, or serve someone else can really be the most important outcome. And I'm going to steal this from my mentor, but there's 3 decisions that dictate the quality of your life. 1, what you'll focus on. 2, what does it mean? So if I can change the meaning of something, either if it's a challenge, I hate the word problem too. I like challenge, right? Challenge is a much, right? So I'd rather a worthy challenge, right? I'd rather something show up and be like, oh, okay, well, you know what? The big guy upstairs put this in front of me for a reason, right? So what does this mean? And then the third decision is, what are you going to do? What will you really do? And that's where I come in. And that's where I'm happy to show up and serve. And you know what, if you guys want to grab me and got a sticking point or something like that, feel free to open a conversation. I really look forward to showing up this time.
Give Pete Ambrosino a round of applause. Pete's been at the summit before, but this year we're going to be leveraging him, Mark Dolfini, Gary, a little bit more with, if you do want to have a consultation with one of them, 15 minutes at the summit. Schedule it appropriately. Don't miss my talks. My talks are the best. So don't miss anybody's talks, but they are going to be at the event. So if your challenge is something that you feel is, at that high level and you just really need like a consultant who's worked with multi-million-dollar companies, Billy, Pete, Gary, Heather, these guys will be there. Mark Dolfini will be there to actually have conversations with you. So if you don't know who they are, I will introduce them on day 1. You'll know who they are. If you're in the mastermind, you already know who they are because they're all players in the mastermind. So yeah, let's give Pete one more round of applause. Appreciate that advice. It is true. The results, my friend, we're not here for goals because goals are just dreams with a deadline, right? It's wonderful. They're still very close to dreams. The results are what motivate you. Right? I told Darina, I didn't fight for financial freedom just to say I was financially free, just to have financial freedom. I fought for it so I could spend time with my child. I fought so hard so I could be there with him when he's learning how to walk, learning how to talk, learning how to move his hands. When he discovers his freaking toes, which he did the other day, and I fucking loved it. It was so cool to watch him be like, those are mine. I can move those. They're moving. Like he's holding his foot, looking at his toes and moving them. It's just mind blowing, right? That was my why to fight for financial freedom. Why I do it for you. Most of you already raised your kids. Most of your kids. Some of you are still raising your kids. To me, it's important that maybe you get to raise your grandkids. Maybe we can't go back and we can't fix the things of the past. Maybe you get to spend more time with the new generation. Maybe you get to make better what has not worked out for you. That's this community.
How great is it going to be to celebrate just one more millionaire made this year? Just one more.
100 more. Let's go. Let's get one more. Let's get a couple more. Let's see. Who can I pull on? Brian Kent, still there. Go ahead, Brian. Give us a share, man.
Well, first of all, very excited to be coming to see everybody in about 2 weeks. Just doing the research, stay educated in what you're trying to do, stay focused in what you're trying to do, and just work with folks you want to work with, because the enemies obviously are people you can't trust, you don't want to work with. So just be there. And like I say, with Kent, knowledge, empowerment, networking, and tenacity, you can accomplish anything.
Give Brian Kent a round of applause. He wrote the book, The R Factor. Brian, where are you traveling to right now? You're somewhere else. You're not at home. I don't recognize those blinds.
I was actually supposed to be leaving for the Maldives today. Had to push that trip off and stay in DC for a few more days.
So you're in DC a few more days now. So everybody knows Brian lives here in Tampa. He lives here in this area with us, like 10 minutes away from my house. But I don't think his wife knows that this month. The whole month of October, he's like on planes.
Yeah, it's a good month. Of course, the back in Florida, I'll be in Orlando.
Hell yeah. Is Rhonda traveling with you, or is she back home with Allie? Well, Allie's
She,
out in New York, right?
no, she's here. She's there. She will be with me at the summit. She'll be with me, and when I go to Greece at the end of the month.
Awesome. Let's give Brian Kent and Rhonda Kent a round of applause. They're crushing it behind the games, doing government contracts, doing real estate deals. Brian's the brains and the operations behind the fund that's coming out, the Alchemist Income Growth Fund that we're working on it. We're working. It's got details. We're looking at the right investments to put into it. We built the fund initially for our mastermind members, and so it's a matter of just putting all these things together. Nothing is as easy as you think it is, especially when it's worth doing. So let's get another share. Let's see. Michelle Young out in Gainesville. I think, Michelle, you're probably bringing the most amount of people to the summit aside from Gary. I think Gary's technically bringing the most so far, but there's a chance that you could turn it around. You got 10 days.
Yeah. No, I'm DMing people as we speak. And yes, I do have a share. Everyone, we have to wish Billy a happy birthday. His birthday today.
Give Billy Reuter a big round of applause. Happy birthday, Billy.
Happy birthday, Billy!
Billy, what are you, like, finally 40 years old? How old are you now?
He makes 26 look good, man.
Yeah, 26. 26. Absolutely. I wish.
I met his kids. I think he's got a 16-year-old daughter.
I have a 19-year-old daughter and twin boys that are 12. Yes, sir. And they remind me every day how wisdom my beard is looking, meaning gray. Yes, I'm 43 years old today and very proud. And every day is a blessing. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Love you.
Let's get one more. Jeremy Roadrock. Bring it to us, brother. Saw you sitting out in the waiting room. I was like, what's this about?
Yeah.
I never made Dorina co-host. My fault. She just told me why.
Logistics, right? And actually that's you can only create what you see and believe is possible, right? You are never going to create a success you can't see. So you need to be around people who are stretching what's possible, right? A mind once stretched cannot fit the original packaging. You can talk till you're blue in the face to someone about a 50,000 seat arena, but if they've only ever lived in a 500 square foot box, no amount of words is going to shift their reality. You walk them in the room and they go, oh my God, and their mind expands to fill that space. That 500 square foot room now starts to feel like a box. And so that's the key, is we've got to get ourselves into experiencing beyond our imagination. And once we've done that, now we can work backwards and go, oh, that is capable. That is real. That's possible. Reverse engineer. And here's the levels that I need to move through to get there. Right? Mike, I see you in the chat and you're like asking and asking and asking. Dude, if you're pushing energy out, nobody can give into you. So you've got to give energy out to create a gap to let it flow back. Give, me, I. Nobody can give it. There's no room. You've got to breathe and you've got to exhale. And then that starts to flow. So what you give starts the chain. And you've got to give answers. You've got to give insight. You can't just say, who knows how to make deals? Everybody can make deals, even if they're bad deals. You want to make good deals. You want to make simple deals. You want to make efficient deals. Like, we got to qualify what it is you're doing. So the more specific you can get, the easier it is to create the reality you dream.
Yeah, let's give Jeremy Roadrock a round of applause. He wasn't talking about Michael Shine. He was talking about Mike B, who we don't know in the chat, who just blows up the chat and is very awkward. So Gary Aker, every single week inside the leadership group, you give us a leadership tip. I wonder if you give us a leadership tip today.
Sure. Well, I was thinking about this when you were talking about how we're pivoting for the subjects in the summit because of the people that are coming. And so just thinking about, most people fight against change, especially when it affects them personally. Tolstoy, he said that everyone thinks that about changing the world, but nobody thinks about changing themselves. So the ironic thing is that change is inevitable. And one of the sayings I used to have when I was managing a large organization, I said, the only thing constant is change. And so but you know, the change is going to come whether you want it or not. But the whether you grow from that or not, that's a choice. You know, you can fight against the change and be upset with it, or you can grow from it. You know, and so what we really need to think about is how have we changed? You know, and I can track back and see how I've changed over the years. But if you really want to be effective and be able to track your personal growth, how have you changed this month? How have you changed this week? How have you changed since yesterday? Being aware of that change and being intentional about that change is part of leading yourself. And we all know that with leadership, the first person that you have to lead is to lead yourself. So I say embrace the change, use it for growth, and and think about that and be intentional about your own growth and leadership.
Let's give Gary Aker a round of applause. He'll be speaking at the summit on leadership, on leading self, on leading organizations, on leading customers to you. So we got, let's get one more share from Michael Shine, who unfortunately won't be at the summit with us this year. He'll be at Spain playing tennis with his son. So
That's right.
weird life choices, Mike. I don't know how you made that one, but
Jonah loves tennis, and they have the Rafa Nadal Tennis Academy in Mallorca, Spain. So we're going for 2 weeks, and we may not come back.
That's super cool, man. Congratulations on that, bro.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thank you. So kind of following up actually on what Pete said, you know, a lot of what I read is Neville Goddard. So if I could just give a recommendation, any Neville Goddard book, I have a ton of them. There's The Complete Reader. Power of Awareness was the first one I read, but it's really about manifesting. It's about you get an idea in your mind, and then you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Like the feeling is the key. You get all excited about, you know, maybe that 3 family or maybe 20 units or whatever. And what would that feel like? And once you do that, Providence moves to the world, brings you to that, all the people that you need to meet, and suddenly whatever it was that you wanted comes to fruition. And if you need proof, look back in your life and the things that you've achieved or you've gotten, you'll realize that you knew you were going to get it before it happened. And so I'm a huge fan. I would say Neville Goddard's my favorite. Walter and I both have The Complete Reader on Audible. It goes through like 10 of his books. Just listen to it when you're like, I do it when I'm mountain biking. God, Neville Goddard is the man. He's so awesome, and I highly recommend him. And that's what I got. Thank you.
perfect way to end it. Let's give Michael Shine a round of applause and Pete for inspiring that. Ladies and gents, I love this community. I wouldn't have built it if it wasn't something that I thought was missing in the world. I think that there are many great communities we could be a part of. And I think that each one of us should be a part of other communities. I think that it's important for us to contribute in other places and also receive the benefits and the value of other places. When we get together in the summit and at these calls, I want us to remember that each individual on this call is looking to improve themselves. They're looking to grow their net worth. They're looking to grow their income. They're looking to grow their impact. For some of you, the impact is the most important component. We got to push, right? We got to push ourselves to be able to create that impact. For some of you, the net worth that's where you're at right now. That means push. It means add value. It means give. It's net worth is a creation of giving. Impact is a creation of giving. Income. You gotta push, right? Income's work. Like there's no getting around it. That one is pushing value into the hand and the lives of others who have the ability to transact. And so it's a lot of fun to get together. And at the same time, we can't just feel the joy of being together. We have to feel the joy of doing, feel the joy of acting, feel the joy of receiving, feel the joy of giving and pushing out into the world and being open to feel the reception, feel the receiving of the activity. So that being said, next week is the final wealth principle of the year. I will be better by then. So I've spent a week of coughing and sneezing, and he's been sick this whole time with me. So it's our first sickness together. Dorena got sick first and then passed it along to us to see if we were strong enough. And he and I have come through. He has had some sleepless nights. having a hard time breathing. Show of hands if you ever had a kid that was sick, you know how terrifying that is. Toughest week of my life has been this past week, you know, watching him, just hoping he makes it through. And he's done amazing. He's smiling, he's happy, he's cheerful. We pulled so much snots out of his nose. So I can't wait to see you at the summit. Next week is Wealth Principle 52. Go back, go to ibuildmillionaires.com, go to the thank you page. The next page comes up and review all 52 wealth principles. And I'd like for you to bring one next week, one that really fucks you up, one that you hate, one that you look at and you don't understand, you don't like, that you're like, this is a weird one. Why is this even in the principles? And before we do, I'll give you the warning. That's probably the one you need to work on the most. The one that annoys you, the one that you don't like, the one that you disagree with, could be the one that's holding you back from all the success that you're looking for. Go ahead, Liz. Liz Hennessy, is your hand up?
No, I was pretty agreeing that my kid has been. You said put your hand up for if your kid's been sick before. My kid has gotten so sick in the past, and she's been admitted 3 times.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. She's alive, right? Kicking?
Live kicking into my strength to the world.
These human beings that we make, they're resilient. It turns out, by the way, I got to tell you, for each of you, before you go, we are living in the best time of humanity ever. 99% of children survive. There was a point where it was 50-50 shot of a child making it all the way to being 50 years old. 99% of humans born today will make it to be in old age. 99%. We live in the greatest time, scientific time, the greatest time to be alive. But a lot of those lives, they'll go to the grave not having purpose, not knowing what they were meant to do. So it's very important that you show others through example, through being a person of light, a person of knowledge, a person who can help and solve others. Because most people will never get the chance of financial freedom. Most people, the ones we're serving right now, are on their deathbeds. They're 65 years old, 75 years old. They're on their way out, and they still don't know what it's like to be free. So it's very important that we have these conversations. Go ahead, Scott. That mute button is tricky.
I was trying to hit it, and I was showing me in the wrong spot. Anyway, a lot of the problems that we have is programming. One of the things I love about being on this every week, it gets me to think differently. See, we were created for greatness and programmed for failure. The way that our society, it trains people to be working class, to be ants, just moving things from one place to another, helping other people achieve their dreams. If you're not living to fulfill your own dreams, you're living to fulfill somebody else's. And it's a programming, and that's one of the things I love about this community, about these weekly calls, and getting on, and all the input that people put in to help people think differently, think bigger. We were made for greatness. Why are you thinking so small? And thank you all so much. I really appreciate y'all, and I look forward to seeing you at the summit.
You know what? Speaking of kids, real quick, I don't know if you've ever witnessed or been in with somebody that's given birth to a premature baby. Has anybody experienced how devastating mom and dad feel when their kid needs tubes and all kinds of IVs and things like that, right? So I look at the nurses that are in a NICU, and those nurses look at that baby with a sense of, oh, I got this. Don't even think of worrying, because this kid is in my hands right now. And they give that sense of certainty, like to what Walter was saying about the life expectancy and the percentage that live on. You know, I look at our group as the NICU of life. This is intensive care right here. This is where you just don't even get a chance. There's not many groups that offer this type of certainty around your success, your mental well-being, your personal growth. So that was the connection that all that made for me. So
I love it. Let's give Pete Ambrosino a round of applause. He's on our coaches council. There's only 5 of us on there, and we push hard to make sure that exactly what he said. When a person comes into the community, they're taken care of. Go ahead, Jeremy. Is that your daughter?
Yeah, so this lady was 14 weeks, 1 day early at 1 pound, 1.8 ounces, NICU for 13 weeks, 2 days, oxygen for 8 months when she came home, in a big damn hurry. It hasn't stopped. She's now 10. So Miss Evie wave. She's not going to be able to make the trip because we've got family in Tampa that same weekend, but thank you, ma'am. Hop. Love you. So the thing is, when she was born, we were in the NICU, and for 2 weeks we drove ourselves crazy because is she going to walk? Is she going to talk? Is she going to this? We had 2 moments where we weren't sure if she was going to make it, and they said, don't make plans to bring her home. So doctors are, weren't big happy. But for 2 weeks we drove ourselves crazy, and then I realized we're looking at all what could not happen, but we don't know because the future's unknown, right? We don't know high school, college. We're inviting 10, 20, 30, 40 years of pain and misery into the life of someone who's only existed for hours and days. And so after 2 weeks, I'm a mindset mastery guy. I realized we're spinning ourselves. Hey, babe, we made an agreement with each other. Control what we can control, our state, our focus, our story, what we were putting in ourselves, how we spent our time and our energy as individuals, influence what we can influence, which is each other, our stories that we share, what we tell the doctors, what we allow the doctors to tell us, influence her, and then let go of the rest. And once we did that, we focused on here's where she was born. She's doubled her weight. Holy crap. She's tripled her weight. She's 3 times the woman she used to be. And because we chose to appreciate where she started and where we are now, we appreciated the journey because the future is unknown and not guaranteed. It's been 10 years, and every night we go to bed, we still say, hey, babe, thank you for today. Glad you made it, and can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. We live in appreciation for the journey. And that changes everything. And it's our power. Control what you can control, influence what you can influence, and frickin' let go of the rest. Because it doesn't matter and you can't do anything about it.
Give Jeremy Roadruck a round of applause. I can't wait to see each of you at the summit. Let's make sure that when we show up, we got our goals. Our goals are the results we're seeking. Make sure you get a selfie with somebody that you've seen on this screen before. Memorize these faces. Make sure you get a selfie with somebody on the screen, as many as you can. And there will be a special hashtag. We'll be posting all weekend long. Cheers to your success. We have a choice. Always work with the best. There's plenty of room at the top. I'll see you at the summit. Later, guys. Make sure you get a picture with Roland Charles. Necessary. Billy Reuter. Jeremy Roadruck. Jonathan Smith. Darina's going to be sitting there taking pictures.